All right, hello and good afternoon, everyone, to today's Fireside Chat with Bill Knoche, sponsored by Let's Talk Selling. I will be your moderator today. My name is Rishi Kumar.
Hi, I'm Bill Knoche. I'm the creator of Let's Talk Selling, and I have developed this program over the last few years. I'm going to say last few years because probably last 15 or 20 years. And I created it as a result of my own dissatisfaction with the traditional model of selling, which was all about kind of pushing people to buy, always be closing. Well, my model is always be listening. I know that there's some other people now that are talking about never be closing. So things are changing in the business of selling and how to approach it. So today I'd like we're gonna be doing a little bit of role playing, and I'd like to have everybody in the audience be thinking about a question they would like to ask, so that you can actually see that this is not a program that's been all dress rehearsed just to have all the right answers. This is a program about being able to think. Focus on taking care of your customer rather than focus on selling your customer. Focus on the care rather than the cash that you're going to make when you can go in and start to collaborate with your customer and make it easy for them to buy versus selling them or pushing them to buy. The business of selling becomes very, very different.
Thank you, Bill. So before we get started with the Fireside Chat, I just wanted to give everyone a little quote, little insight on Let's Talk Selling on Bill that I really like, that encapsulates it. Is, if you always think what you've always thought, you always get what you always got. And why don't you give us a little brief on the problem that Let's Talk Selling solves?
Well, you're able to get more sold if you spend more time listening and spend less time talking. When you can actually get connected authentically with people and people don't feel pushed to buy, it's amazing how much more information you get out of people when they aren't protecting themselves from an aggressive salesperson that doesn't know the difference between powerful and pushy. They don't know how to ask questions. They think they're going in and think their job is to have all the answers, because smart people have all the answers. Well, let me tell you, the smartest doctors on the planet have all the questions. And I'm going to tell you that eventually the smartest salespeople on the planet will have all the questions. They don't need to go in with all the answers. They need to go in with a lot more questions. That's how you create credibility.
And when it comes to asking these questions, Bill, would you say the traditional sales method is outdated? And is there such thing as asking the wrong questions when it comes to it?
Yeah, the old model of selling is outdated. People resist being sold. Ask anybody your age. You don't want to put up with salespeople. You've done your research on the internet. You go in with what you think are all the answers. You're just trying to find the right place to buy it. Maybe get a couple of things confirmed about your thoughts. You're not ready to listen to anybody sell.
Do you think people feel irritated or interrogated if you're asking these many questions?
No. If you're there asking questions and you're asking caring questions, there's no interrogation. It's just you're generating a conversation.
And in that conversation itself, right, Bill, how do you weigh out, do I need to have a script of sorts? Or how?
No, you don't need to have a script. You just have to be caring about people, and you have to be able to ask questions. So when we're doing the role play, a little bit of role play for this, right now we'll talk about a home improvement contractor being called by somebody, and they've set up an appointment. They're going into the appointment to meet with a customer for the first time about remodeling a kitchen. Now,
right.
for all of you who are in the room that aren't home improvement contractors, think about, what do you do when you go out on your first call, when you're meeting an initial meeting with a client? And what I've discovered over the years is a person may be going out to talk to, as I'm saying, a person who wants a kitchen remodeled.
Right.
You don't go in selling remodeling. You need to find out when you need to build a relationship. So you need to find out why he wants the kitchen remodeled. What's going on? What triggered it? How long has he wanted to have this project done? How long, in other words, how long has he been putting it off? The reason for asking that question is so that you find out personally as a salesperson, but it's also to bring it up in the prospect's mind. about how long they've been putting it off. It's about reigniting in their head why they've been putting it off. So you ask that question. So give me some help with why you've been putting it off so long. And they go into telling you more about that. And
Right.
they become related to you because you're asking questions. They get to do the talking. They discover how good you are. You don't have to tell them how good you are.
That makes sense. So why don't we field the question, Bill? We have a question from Ganesh.
Hi, Bill. This is Ganesh.
Yes.
I'm running a small SME organization which is into digital marketing, and I just wanted to understand what is your procedure for sales training, exactly what LTS does to train the sales team. That's my first question. And second question is more related to the process optimization of sales. So how you can help my sales team to innovate and improvise the whole process of sales so that my sales cycle is shorter. I can have a more negotiation power. And thirdly, I can enhance my revenues.
Okay, well, you'll discover if you start to ask questions of people, your selling time will be very definitely shortened. I worked with a cross-border company that gets things across the Canadian border from the US to Canada, and they had a sales cycle of 90 to 120 day sale. And after going into the field with the salespeople, we had that down so that the average duration of time was 2 weeks. And the reason that happened is because they started to understand when they started to understand how to take it to the next level. When they were in talking with somebody and they said, well, the boss is in a meeting, he can't meet with us right now. They started to understand that you can now ask for just to have something signed, if everything was all set to go and the form wasn't signed simply because the boss was in a meeting. When you work with that stuff, you can look at the person you're working with and say, based on what we've talked about so far, it really sounds like you're the one in charge. Is there any chance you could step into his meeting, ask him to sign the form, because you're the one that's really buying it, ask him to okay it, and we'll get on with it. And it's amazing. People could step right into the boss's meeting, just tell the boss to sign it. You got to understand, this isn't everybody, but this is when you actually have relationships built with people and you understand how much they carry in the company. If it's the purchasing agent, he or she can interrupt the meeting to get it signed. And if you're not interested in getting it done right away, you don't ask for that. But when you're actually starting to put an emphasis on getting things done, it's amazing what people will do if you simply ask.
Right.
Right. So, and I hope I didn't get the question. So how LTS, what is the procedures of your sales training? How you assist the organization like us?
Okay, so what I would do with a company like yours is I would have because it's pretty, the company that put me in the field with those people paid me a lot of money every day to go out and work with their people. And they had a big budget. Most people don't have that kind of a budget. So what I did is I created a model where the salespeople go in and they sit down with the person they're speaking with, and they just say to the person, I'm going to make some audio notes of this meeting while they're taking their regular notes down. So now they've got actually the audio notes of that meeting, and we come back to the company and all the people come in and they start to what's funny when I'm on this thing, they just start to play the audio notes from the meeting. And when we can listen to it, we can hear where they could have done things differently. And right now, most people are unaware of what they are doing on a sales call. They do it automatically. And I want to understand, this isn't, in my opinion, this is not about sales training. You train a dog, you train a monkey, you don't train people. You explain to people and you show people how to do something differently. That's one of the major things. If people can't change what they don't know, they should change. And when they actually start to hear themselves live doing their call, now they can start to hear what they could do differently. And once they're aware of what they could do differently, they have a whole new world opens up to them. And so that's what we would do with your team. Bring 5 people, your 5 people that have been in the field, they each bring a call or 2 into the meeting, and everybody learns from everybody else's learning. It's very, very different than trying to learn out of a book.
Right. Now, speaking of that, would you say you have a structured course material then, or?
I would say, no, I don't. I would say, see, because I don't believe it is structured, but I guess it's a system. Actually, the only people I want to train are people who want to participate. So you get bring people into the room, and we start to work with each one of their audio notes.
Right.
So I guess I say it's not. Maybe I don't say it's a system because it's not all written down, but it absolutely empowers people. Because again, as I repeat, and I hate to be repeating already, but if you don't know if you can't see what you're doing wrong, you'll continue to do it. Let me just give you an illustration of that. People will tell me I'm really a good listener. And I say, okay, all you have to do is go home, have your husband or have your wife just co-sign and have her tell me you're a good listener. And then you can skip this part of the training. And nobody does it. Everybody laughs and says, oh my God, my wife knows I'm a terrible listener. So that's the first part is people have to recognize that they have things to learn about listening.
Right, and why don't we tie that in with Bill, one of our highlights of today's session being the insight into today's sales-resistant buyer. Why don't you give us some insight on that, please?
Well, let's talk about you going out and buying something.
Okay, let's talk.
What do you hate about salespeople? Why don't you like being sold?
I don't like being deceived.
You don't like being deceived.
Right.
What else? Is that what you said? I'm just.
Yeah.
So what else don't you like about being sold?
Just the runaround, right? So the beating around the
runaround.
bush part.
And I'm sorry, if you were a real client, if we weren't role playing, then maybe you'd have a different place in this. But what's it mean, the runaround?
The runaround as in not having a direct answer to your question, right? That's what I think.
Okay, so how do salespeople, when you're out, what makes you feel you're getting a runaround from the salesperson you're talking to?
Feel like I'm being pushed instead of guided.
Okay, well, the reason I'm asking you to ask all these questions rather than tell everybody everything is the feeling of being pushed. It no longer exists. I'm asking you, what was the last thing you went out to buy, Rishi?
Last thing I went out to buy was some golf equipment a few months ago.
Okay, perfect. And did you know what you wanted to buy when you walked in the store?
I had an idea, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted. Yeah.
Okay. So when you went to buy it, did the person, how did they approach you? What did they ask you?
They asked me what I want, what particular, category of item I wanted, and then what my price range was.
Okay. And then what happened?
Pardon?
Then what, after they did that, what happened?
Then they gave me a list of options, obviously, usually the recommendations being on the higher priced ones. So.
Right. Okay. So did anybody ask you why you wanted to buy this new club?
No.
Right. Did anybody ask you the club you're using now?
No,
But he asked you what you wanted the new club to be able to do for you that the old club couldn't do?
no, not the latter part. The first part, yes.
Right. So that's, if you had been asked those questions, you would know that somebody was trying to help you because they were asking you enough questions to be able to give you some advice. And yes, the price is important too, but it's not just about price. It's what do you want the club to do? How long have you had this problem? What's it going to do if you can knock this thing, if we can get this much more done, what's going to happen to your score? But it's not about telling you anything. It's about asking you everything. If that had happened, did you buy a new club? Last time you went out, did you end up buying a new club?
No, I bought golf balls.
New golf balls. You went in to buy a club and you bought new golf balls.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I felt like it'd have more utility for me at the current time.
Right. And that was all your own thinking. You just decided the clubs cost too much money and balls were less.
Correct.
No, I'm asking.
No, yeah, they were. That's exactly
Okay.
what I thought. Yeah.
Right. And the guy never asked you, what do you think the golf balls are going to do for you? He just folded and you decided you were going to buy clubs because he actually didn't provide enough information for you to buy a club.
Exactly. Do you think during a time where customer loyalty has become something of the past, do you think gaining customer confidence is something that's a challenging feat or can be done based off a few meetings?
All right. So here's again, I'm sorry, I'm doing this at debunk it with questions. Why do you think that customer loyalty is a thing of the past?
Hello, Bill.
Yes.
Yes. So basically, people got relied on so much on online reviews, online statements, online shares, and everything. And what I strongly believe is people stop believing in a personal trust, because online trust has become so much, online research has become so much. And what I strongly believe is people has lost trust in people. When salespeople get to meet them personally, they forget who came in the last time. They forget who's the guy who came from some company, who's the guy. So there's no customer loyalty to a brand or a person.
Okay. There's always going to be customer loyalty to salespeople that treat their customers with respect and give their, I guess, speak the truth to their people. We're right back to asking questions. When people know and trust you, they don't worry about the star ratings. First place, once they know you, they've already given you better star ratings. So if you're going to create more star ratings from where people are going, you have to start to be a better salesperson, a person who can help people buy. When people fall in love with you, not literally, but when they like you so much and they're proud of working with you, they're always going to give you more referrals. And if you can't get referrals, then you're not really a very good salesperson, or you've got a company that doesn't take care of their customers.
I mean, do you really think during these times, the major reason loyalty has become the thing of the past is, do you really think people are still asking around for people for references, or they're just Googling and then relying on the reviews?
Well, no, people don't ask for references. You're coming into a generation that doesn't talk to one another. So they just go out and look for stars. Right. You'll generate more stars as a result of building better relationships with the people you already have. People absolutely buy stars. There's no question. They're looking for companies that have star ratings. Even if it's a bad company, they will go with stars. And the fact is, they must be a good company. the odds are very, very high that they are a good company if they've got enough stars and enough people giving them stars. It's not 10 people giving them stars. They got to have more than that, because otherwise, again, the star ratings can't be trusted, because somebody can go out and create 5 or 10 through their friends.
Right. So
Does that get your question answered?
yes, yes. So that comes back to my main point, where when people are researching online a lot, right? And do you think half of our sale is done, or is that an advantage or disadvantage?
No.
Because they've got
No,
their answers already. They don't want to listen to us, or they don't want to get sold, because they all they do is just tell, I need this, give me the best price. That's all we get always.
All right. Well, that's because you don't know how to ask questions. Give me the best price. What's the best price mean? You got to be able to ask a customer that. You're racing for price. Tell me a little bit about why you want this. What are your customers buying that they're looking for the best price on? I'm sorry I didn't ask you that to start out with.
Let's move on, or to segue off of that, Bill, how would you define what the right question is then?
Well, again, the right question, if you're going into somebody's home, which you've talked a little bit about, and they're remodeling their basement. They're putting a new rec room in the basement.
Right.
Find out how long you've been putting the base. I know you're looking for you're looking for a rec room in the basement, but I'm always curious. Tell me what's prompted the need for a new rec room in the basement. You don't just start selling them why you should do it. You find out why they want it, how long you've been putting it off, why they want it. If you went to a doctor, the doctor doesn't give you a prescription before he asks you a bunch of questions.
Right.
You'd never accept it. So this is about, and so I want to, in almost every situation, what do you want to get done? How long have you been putting it off? What kind of a budget do we have to work with? And the average customer is going to say, well, I really, if they don't say it, they don't want to give you their budget because they don't want you to spend the whole budget. And so I've got to be able to look back at the customer, and when I say, what kind of a budget do you have? And he says, well, I really don't have a budget. That's the reason we've got you here today. I need you to know that's coming up, and I need you to gently be able to say, well, I know you don't have a number written down on a piece of paper for a budget, but I know that you and your wife, the odds are very high. You have a number that you don't want to spend more than. I'm asking for that number only because this basement could be a $30,000 basement, or it could be a $20,000 basement. You need to give me a little bit of area so I can design it around your budget, because I don't want to come back with a proposal for $40,000 and have you with sticker shock.
Right.
It's about, can you feel it all when I'm demonstrating this, that I actually care? This isn't about some fake bonding and rapport horse crap.
Right.
Actually caring about the customer. This isn't about making the customer think you care. This is about you caring. This is about you wanting to do the right job for the customer. And if you can't do it for him, if he's going to flip his house, it's about you helping him buy somebody who's the lower priced person that can do the job for him. I'm going to tell you, when you actually start to refer work out because you can't do it, it's not your stuff, you think you're going to lose money. When you do that, the person that you actually have taken care of will still brag about you. They'll still talk about what a great guy you are. And we don't think about that. It's always about money, money, money. The reputation is more important than the money today. If you get the reputation for taking care of your customers. There are some customers you can't take care of because they don't have the budget. So you help them go buy it someplace else. We as human beings are not designed to be at each other's throat. This competitive crap is a pain. We are really designed to help one another. That's how we were born. That's the reason when somebody's laying on the edge of the street, most people just don't walk. Well, a lot of people do walk by today, but a lot of people are going to help that person and take care of that person. They're going to jump out of a car and try to make sure the person's taken care of, because that's how we're fundamentally designed. And if we're there to take care of our prospects and our customers and that give them great satisfaction, they will feel that. They will know that immediately.
Yeah, we do have another question here. Ganesh, I'm muting. If you'd like to ask your question, please.
Yeah, Bill very rightly said, but in today's scenario, when we talk about COVID, right, things have drastically turned around, right?
Yes.
And the sales number has drastically gone down. So if, like, for example, I'll give you a real life scenario. When I go to a customer and say that I don't have a budget, have not designed any budget for this. It's just because I'm losing business. But at the same time, I need more customers. So what should I do? So what exactly the customer does is he asks all the vendors for the quotes. And then based on those quotes, he decides the budget, right? And based on those particular quotes, there's a very competitive scenario that comes into around for the businesses. So my question is, in that particular scenario, if I work with that particular client just to cover up my cost or just to break even, is this the right thing to do? Or how can I transform then into a high value sales?
Well, I think we're back on the fact you're falling into line with the way the customer is buying. You're just doing what he wants you to do. And if you cared about the customer, you got to help him buy. It's not about you creating a proposal for him. You've got to help him create a budget. You've got to be able to ask him, so how much money is it costing you not to advertise anymore? When was the last time you asked the customer that question? We got to find out what it's costing. And listen, there's a zillion people out there that are in the marketing business that are going to give you a line of manure, but they aren't going to be able to deliver for you. And I'm not going to be one of those. We need to be able to create a budget that actually will get done what you need to get done. Now, there are people coming in underneath me, but we have a good reputation. If you take a look at the number of stars we've got a great reputation for being able to deliver what customers need. And if you can't afford that, again, then I guess I can put you in touch with somebody who might be able to do the job for you. However, this is not like building a kitchen. Marketing is entirely different than building a kitchen or a basement. You really have to trust the person, because there's so much invisible in the marketing thing. I'm not gonna, in my how I approach this business is not a price match business. It's, if I can help you get it done, let's talk about getting it done. If buying from the low bidder is more important than buying from the guy who can get the job done for you, then I'm probably the wrong guy to be talking to start out with. And you have to have that kind of courage in order to establish your credibility.
The question was, what do you applaud? Is it in negotiation or is it in the approach?
Why do most people hate salespeople? No, I mean, if we can get some answers out of the audience, that's great. Why do people not want to be a salesperson?
Well, one of the responses was rejections as well. Right. Another response was pushy.
You message can't be trusted.
Right.
Pushy.
Right. Someone just said fake. So why don't you let us know, Bill?
Okay, fake. No, don't. No, we got to get more answers. This is interesting. Watch, you want to get this hot thing out of your hand here.
No, I will, because I also want to hear the.
Okay, fake. So in general, we're right back. People do not trust salespeople. That's the reason they have all the problems they have. That's because you're trying to sell people or push people into buying something. Once you learn how to collaborate, stop negotiating, with your customers and you start collaborating with the customer, there is no longer any pressure on a customer because you're there to help the customer buy. You're not there to sell them what you're selling. If you can spend time with them to ask him some questions so that he knows that you're there by the questions you're asking him, that you're there and he would like to work with you, the resistance will go away. They don't have the resistance because they start to recognize you as somebody that can be trusted, that's somebody that authentically cares. It isn't there trying to do a bonding and rapport move. You're there to actually take care of the customer. Did you get that? I really didn't answer the questions. I did put a bunch of stuff back in your lap, and that's what I want you to understand. When you're dealing with people, you've got to find out what's behind their question. And when they aren't asking you enough questions, and you've been in business a long time, you've got to be able to say, give me some help. I know ordinarily people would be asking me more questions than you have, and maybe you feel like I'm putting pressure on you. So again, that's what you have got. That's your responsibility to generate the communication between you and the customer. And so you got to make it, your job is to make it safe for them to say anything they need to say, ask anything what they need to ask without having what they've said or asked used against them later. Because otherwise people are constantly protecting themselves from being trapped by something they've said to the salesperson. So when they know they aren't going to be trapped, they'll say a lot more. When you're there to take care of them, they'll say a lot more.
Why don't you give us the inside story on Less Talk Selling?
The inside story is that it's a completely new approach to the business of selling. It's important for you, if you're an owner of a company, you've got salespeople working for you, it's important to note that people will never outperform their concepts of self. So if you've got a salesperson that knows that they're worth maybe $60,000 a year, and they start to get up to close to being at that amount of money, they'll start to automatically self-sabotage, not on purpose, but they will, so that they don't exceed that $60,000 by much. So it's our job as the owner of a company to encourage our salespeople.
And why do you think that is?
Not discourage them. Well, helping them understand that they just because I'm going to just use something I use all the time with people.
Go ahead.
You were born gifted and talented, and then conditioning in schools and so on in life, you may believe now that you're not gifted and talented, and you're only worth X amount of money. You're only there to support other people. And it's very difficult to take on the role of leadership when you don't think you're a leader. So if you own a company, one of your main jobs, if you're building a sales team, is they all should know that they all have the capacity to be great leaders. And anybody that's on this call right now and is hearing that and thinks, and they're in their own voice, they're hearing, they're saying, well, I'm not much of a leader. That's a voice in your head that holds you hostage. Anytime when you're told something like you're really good at this, your voice, you have another voice in your head that says, oh, you're not really that good. That's a belief system that's preventing you from getting better. And we have to become aware of those. Just like I mentioned earlier about you have to become aware that you're not listening in order to become a good listener. You have to become aware of your self-limiting beliefs if you're ever going to escape those beliefs, because they will hold you hostage for your lifetime if you don't start to become aware of them. I think that's the main stuff that I wanted people to get today, is that you're capable of producing extraordinary sales. And out of what people will get out of Less Talk Selling is you'll be able to have a sales force, ordinary sales force that all of a sudden is able to produce extraordinary sales results. Again, extraordinary sales results from ordinary salespeople. The better that you are at building that inside your company, the greater the profits of the company will be, and the greater the referrals will come, and you can start to, you can also have better margins. Growing a business is about growing your business in every aspect.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Welcome.
So thank you for fielding all those questions, letting us know the inside story on Let's Talk Selling and Bill Knoche himself. We'll be leaving a link and emailing a follow-up after this with the testimonial link included and where people can contact you with your Calendly link as well, where you can find a time to talk with Bill. So thank you, Bill. If you want to leave your closing remarks, I'll leave it with you here.
Well, I want to thank you guys who have helped put this thing together. You say Bill Knoche himself. I couldn't have done this without you guys and your support on getting this accomplished. I know you're going to be sending out the follow-up email. I'm not going to be doing that. It's going to have a where people can get on the calendar after they've gone through and answered some questions. I appreciate that. And this is the first of a series of seminars or fireside chats we'll be doing over the next months. And I appreciate it very much, guys. I appreciate you for your work. I appreciate the people, the 10 or 11 people that have been on this call so far today. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.